Hi, my name's Eric Sutherland and welcome to my world of team dynamics. You know, many people work in what are called teams, and yet they feel more like a group of people occupying the same space rather than a dynamic and energized team, all striving to achieve the same goal. And that's a shame, because there is no doubt that real teams achieve more. I mean, that's why so many organizations invest in team building activities. They understand the results that can be achieved by dynamic and organized teams. It is, however, a fact that while many team building activities deliver a short-term boost, over the longer term, they just don't seem to deliver what they promise. Many organizations don't bother with team building at all. They fall into the trap of believing that all you have to do is put a group of people together, call them a team, and voila, you have created a team. If only it was that simple. Now, if you're their manager, then it's your job to convert them from a group of people into a dynamic team. So, how's that going for you? You know, if you're finding it hard, then you're not alone. You know, I would estimate that about 90% of so-called teams fall into the group of people working together category. And the reason is all down to something called team dynamics. Now, in an ideal world, everyone in your team would be working together in perfect harmony with a common objective. But anyone that's worked in a team knows that often this just isn't true. Office politics and self-interest sometimes take precedence over the team's objectives, especially if the team is experiencing some sort of change. And let's face it, which team these days isn't faced with change? Many managers spend too much time dealing with team squabbles or personal issues rather than getting on with the actual job that they've been given. Wouldn't it be nice if you could actually achieve what you set out to do with the minimum wasted effort? And what if you could find a way to get everyone working to their strengths and respecting each other's expertise? What if instead of fighting for resources or empire building, your team focused that energy in getting the job done? I mean, does that sound like some sort of utopia? And yet, you know, there are teams out there that work like that, so it must be possible. I mean, teams consist of people. And yes, teams do perform better when the people like each other and they get on. So it seems obvious that the best place to start would be to get everyone in the team to just get along with each other. So what do? You take everyone away for the day and you do some team building activities. By the end of the day, everyone seems to be working together in a positive way. You listen to the debrief at the end and everyone says what a great time they had and are looking forward to working together back at work. A success! So the day was a success. Or so you think. See, at first, it all goes well. Incidents and ideas from the exercises are still fresh in people's minds, and there's usually some good-natured banter about the exercises. All the little niggles that people had with each other seem to be forgotten, and people seem to be getting on better. Then, a week or two goes past, and the sly comments start beginning again. Maybe people start backstabbing each other a little bit, and the different parts of the team adopt the same old them and us attitude. What on earth went wrong? Well, as someone who has been involved in the black art of team away days, let me tell you a little secret. Most of them don't provide long-term results. Teams that seem to work well together during the team building programs often seem to struggle to transfer the results back into the workplace. Have you ever wondered why that is? You know, I've done quite a bit of research in this area. The answer is actually so obvious that I actually ignored it for a while. I didn't believe that it could be that simple. So my concern is that if I just tell you the answer, you're also going to dismiss it because it seems too simple, just like I did. Now, I know that you want the best for your team. You want them to enjoy working with each other and delivering great results. And you know they want to have that as well. If you'd done a team builder, you'd have seen it. but they can't seem to just sustain it. So what's stopping them? Well, obviously there's a big difference between negotiating some tree stumps with planks and what you have to do back in the office. But that's not the reason. And the answer may not be what you think it is. It has been my experience that most teams actually get constrained by the same false assumption. When you fix this assumption, any team can have a massive jump in their productivity. The assumption is so common that most team managers refuse to believe it's true. Not until I run a program with them and they see it for themselves, that is. But until you fix this one assumption, all the team bonding or motivational speeches or reward systems in the world will not help you to create a dynamic team. Because team performance is usually focused on the team's relationships, it seems obvious that you should be trying to make these better. Which is why most team building exercises are structured to bring out people's behaviours and personalities. And while this is very important, it's not the secret to long-term improvement. Some time ago, I started asking two very important questions. These highlight the problem. The questions are very simple. What do you want? And how will you know when you've got it? Now, I found these two questions to be deceptively simple, but they can uncover a multitude of hidden blockages and misconceptions. The second question is critical, as it provides the evidence of actually achieving the first. Answering these questions not only increases the clarity of what you want to achieve, it also opens up the team to use techniques such as strategic visioning, future pacing, and developing well-formed outcomes. Does that seem too simple to you? Well, let's look back at the team building exercises. The reason team building exercises seem to work during the program, but fail to deliver back in the workplace, is actually quite simple. The facilitator is providing the answer to these two questions. Every task that the team does has an exercise brief. That brief tells the team what they have to achieve and how the facilitator will know when they've achieved it. Now, this is so obvious that it's really easy to dismiss it as being too simple. So try this with your team. Ask each of them the questions and get them to write down the answers, but don't let them discuss it with each other first. That's really important. If they all put down the same answers, I would be amazed, because I've never seen it happen. And please, don't accept the company mission or vision statement as the answer. Often these just come mantras that everyone says, but no one really understands. You know, when I design team building tasks, I often make the objective deliberately obscure. Now, this is to encourage team members to seek clarity, and they usually do so. Often, the biggest learning point from a team building program is to seek clarity on the outcome before initiating any action. So why don't people transfer this insight back to the workplace if it's staring them in the face? The answer is again surprisingly simple. Because the delegates were in a strange environment and doing strange exercises, they were happy to seek clarification, most of the time. But back in the workplace, they don't seek clarity because they believe they already know the answers to the two questions. And that's the fatal assumption. Most people in a team believe that their goal is so obvious, they are surprised when I even ask them. But when I probe deeper, as I do in my one-day programs, you find people on the same team have very different ideas about what their goal is and how they should be achieving it. Until all the team can provide the same answer to these two questions, with clarity and focus, you will never build a dynamic team. So nowadays, I design a different type of team building intervention. You don't have to worry about transferring the knowledge and skills back into the workplace because we never really leave it. All the activities and tasks are focused on what your team actually does in its day-to-day job. And that's not abseiling down a cliff. My first task is therefore to seek clarity and agreement from the whole team about what they are trying to achieve. Now, it sounds simple, but you wouldn't believe some of the disagreements that come up when you start poking at people's beliefs about what they're actually trying to achieve. This exercise, by the way, is not for the faint-hearted and is best facilitated by someone outside of the team. I use specific exercises with your team to surface all the issues. However, the real skill is knowing which questions to ask after you get the answers to the first two. You see, it's all about empowering your team to be proactive and take ownership of their objectives. Using this process has an incredible effect on the positive dynamics of the team. When we add in some other layers, it really boosts the team's productivity and sense of identity. As I said earlier, in traditional team building, we use team activities so that people can learn about each other's strengths and weaknesses. Well, I short-circuit that as well. Everyone gets a talent dynamics profile assessment to indicate which of the core roles they are best suited to. The profile identifies which of the 8 roles needed in any successful organisation to best relate to. Now, I'm not going to go into the 8 roles here. You can check them out on my website, my blog, and my YouTube channel. You get lots more information there. So early on in the day, we have already identified what the team regards as success and who in the team is best suited for the different roles needed to achieve it. Once you've got absolute clarity about what it is you're trying to achieve and how you know if you're achieving it, you'll then be in a position to uncover what is blocking you from achieving it. So the rest of the day is devoted to identifying and clearing the blockages that are holding them back. Again, I use specific exercises to uncover these blockages. Your team will identify ideas and opportunities that will boost your productivity. But don't just take my word for it. This is what some of the people that have already done this have to say about the process.
Today was absolutely inspirational for our team. I think it's the very first time in 4 years that we've come together and actually seen ourselves as a team that can move forward holistically together with a common goal to keep making a difference for young people in Blackpool.
Secondary, as far as some tangibility, is there was a really unique sort of brainstorming session that we went through, which I really enjoyed. And some of the projects that came out of that is clearly sort of 6 figures on the bottom line. Just we can implement those and see those in the next 6 months.
To somebody that was thinking of having a taster session with Talent Dynamics, I would definitely say go for it. And if you've got the money, don't just have a taster session, go for the whole day.
Now, obviously, I would like you to use my skills in this, but you could have a go at some of it yourself. The problem is, though, you may actually be part of the problem. When a manager runs a workshop such as this, the team sometimes only tell them what they think they want to hear. Sometimes the manager only hears what they want to, no matter how often the team says it. I mean, this is really an area where you need external facilitation to get the best result. As an external facilitator, I'm allowed to ask the stupid questions and talk about the elephant in the room. For your team, it means a day out of the office. And I know just how hard it can be to arrange that. But here's the problem. What's going to happen if you don't? You know, this question always reminds me about the story of the 2 lumberjacks. One was a seasoned professional and the other was a young buck eager to prove himself. The 2 of them set to work one day and the young buck was keen to show that he could cut down more trees than the old man. You know, obviously from a sustainable forest. As they both dropped their first tree, the old guy sat down and examined his chainsaw. He dug out his old file and gave each of the teeth a little tweak. The young buck, however, got stuck into his next tree. This happened after every tree the old guy chopped down. By lunchtime, the young buck had dropped 4 more trees than the old guy and was feeling pretty pleased with himself. However, after lunch, a strange thing started to happen. The old guy started to catch him. The young buck thought it was just his luck. The trees he was picking seemed to be heavy with sap, and he was struggling to cut through them. His saw kept clogging and jamming, and he was starting to fall behind. Soon the old guy had overtaken him and just smiled at him as the whistle blew for the end of the day. The young buck walked sullenly to his truck. He stuffed his saw away and prepared to drive home. To his surprise, however, the old guy shouted, "Aren't you going to sharpen your saw?" "What do you mean?" he replied. "I've only cut down a dozen trees. My saw's fine." The old guy looked at him and said, "You know what? I sharpen mine a little after every tree. That way I can keep it keen all day and check for any damage as I go. It also means it's as sharp at the end of the day as it is at the beginning, which is why I cut down more trees than you." When you sharpen your saw as you go, you actually get more work done in less time. It might seem like you're taking time away from the actual work, but as you've seen, you get more done in the end. The programs that I run lets your team sharpen the saws. We also put in place action plans that keep them sharp. Everyone will know what role they should be filling in the team so that they can get into flow and get more done simply because they're enjoying what they do more. They will identify their objectives and come up with the tasks needed to complete those objectives. The bottom line is that this works.
I think that really everybody that was part of the day was able to reach inside themselves and see where they can really contribute towards our team moving forward.
So the first thing we found out when we did everyone's profile was most people were in the wrong positions. So we tweaked the accountabilities around the team. So we moved our receptionist, for example, into quality and finance, and he was able to find $100,000 in outstanding debtors in his first month, and he put payment plans in place for them. We didn't even know we had that money missing.
Every program I deliver is different because every team has their own agendas and objectives and is in a different stage of flow and development. But if having a happy and productive team is important to you, please get in touch and we can discuss what a program would look like for you. You know, I'm not one of those smarmy consultants that thinks he has all the answers. What I do is facilitate your team to find their own answers, and it works. You can, of course, keep going as you are. But if your team dynamics are holding you back, it's just like making your saw blunt, one tree at a time. At some point, you need to stop and reset the teeth and sharpen up the points. Once you've got your team sharp, we can talk about ways to keep them that way. By profiling your team, you can make sure that you're using the right person for the right job. I mean, after all, you wouldn't want to try and cut down a tree with a hammer, would you? Not every team is prepared to become highly productive and motivated, though. Some just want to hide in the company backwater and be left in peace, hoping that no one will notice them. Now, the fact that you have watched this video to this point means that you are not one of them. But I don't take on every team that asks. I will only work with you if I think I can add significant value to your team and your organisation. I mean, that's why there's no buy now button for this on my website. We both need to be sure that this is the right intervention for your team. And the only way we can do that is by talking about it. So if you want to develop a dynamic team that feels empowered and gets things done, then please contact me. It costs nothing to talk. You can contact me by telephone, email, or through my support desk. When you do, we will arrange to have a no obligation chat over the phone to see if this is right for you and to answer any questions that you might have. So, until I hear from you, this is Eric Sutherland signing off. Bye for now.